So, the Teutonic Knights. Yes, we have a new season on the way in Conqueror's Blade, and I'm honestly really kind of hyped for this one. Teutonic Knights, really kind of wasn't expecting that, and there's some really cool looking units we've got on the way. So we're just going to have a quick breakdown, just a very quick look through what we know. We know we've got 3 new units coming, we'll have a quick look at them, what we know about the Battle Pass, etc, as we do basically every season. I don't even know what season number we're on now. They don't tell us anymore. I feel like we're on 15? 16? Maybe it's 14. I don't know. Let me know in the comments. Does anyone remember what season we're actually on? Anyway, so yeah, we know September the 14th this is getting released into Conqueror's Blade. So we have still got a couple of weeks, unfortunately, which to wait before we're going to get this. But yeah, inspired by the Medieval Order of the Teutonic Knights. So we know we've got 3 new units coming to the game. And there's a couple of things I've got some really interesting questions on. So the first unit, which I don't know if I'm going to have a go at pronouncing this, but I'm going to go for Schutzdiener's. I'm guessing Schutz is shooting? Something like that? Shots? Anyway, well, you can complain about my pronunciation in the comments. But essentially are going to be a tier 3 archer unit. It's interesting they say they're capable of ranged attacks and healing orders. Curious to if that's going to be kind of a little bit of a cross between the healing nurses that we got in the French season back in season 11 or 12, something like that, but with an archer unit as well. Kind of interesting to how they're going to implement that. Traditionally, my problem with things that are a support unit is that to balance them, normally you have to take away a little bit of the range power. Otherwise, it'd be a dominant healing unit and it puts out a dominant amount of range damage. And then the problem with these sort of mixed units is that really it's better to play to one strength than it is to kind of be a jack of all trades. At least normally. So it will be interesting to see how they're going to implement that and whether they're going to be an effective tier 3 archer unit. How are they realistically going to stack up to something like fire archers, which can really dominate at tier 3. Anyway, beyond that, we go on to the Kriegsbrunders, tier 4 sword and shield cavalry. It was interesting how I thought they worded it on this. The first sword and shield cavalry unit in Conqueror's Blade. I wonder if they're going to have an active block. That's my real question on this one. Are they going to be like mounted paladins? I think that would be really interesting if they were. If they did, I'm not even that bothered about their charge abilities. Cavalry in Conqueror's Blade, obviously most units, Yanyadows aside, which obviously just eviscerate anything within hundreds of meters of them, but everything else basically relies on a charge and then tends to have relatively minimal melee ability. But it would be interesting to have a cavalry unit that could actually sustain itself in prolonged combat. Charge in, do some damage, and then almost have an active block. So actually be able to fight with a sword and shield and not just immediately get overwhelmed by everything around it. I don't know, could be really interesting. No idea if it does have an active block, but it would be kind of cool if it did. Beyond that, we move on to the final unit, the tier 5, the Spy Handlers. And a couple of interesting things about this. Obviously these are these giant 2-handed swords. I feel like as a unit really comparable to the Claymores from the Scottish season. I'm going to be interesting to see kind of what differences we see between the two. Obviously Claymores being a tier 4 unit, so this is obviously a higher tier unit. They do go on to say capable of breaking formations. I'm always a little bit nervous about breaking formations. I really like the current shield meta, or at least how it's kind of worked to be implemented. I think units like Imperial Shield Guards are in a really nice place right now. They don't do intense amounts of damage, they don't overwhelm anything, but they create this really nice sort of tanky front line situation, which is an effort to push through, to break through that front line barrier. And because they're quite an effective unit, we see at least a reasonable amount of them in games at the moment, and it's nice to have team shields. It's a really positive thing. So I hope they don't overdo the breaking of formations for these Spy Handlers units, because I don't want Imperial Shield Guards to lose that kind of meta edge. But beyond that, they talk about blocking cavalry, which is going to be interesting to see how they implement that. I suspect it's going to be maybe, perhaps not through a brace, but maybe through a trait or an ability or something, which basically makes them sort of more resistant to cavalry. They'll sort of knock lancers out the way or something like that. So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. I suspect it's not going to be super efficient slaughtering cavalry like an Imperial Pike Guard or something like that, or, you know, Fortebraccios. But interesting to see. And they're obviously released later on into the season. So yeah, 3 kind of interesting units. We do get what's kind of one thing that I feel is slightly negative. They obviously always do the pre-ordering of the Battle Pass, but I slightly dislike the fact that they basically allow you to start unlocking the Tier 3 unit now, before the season even launches. I kind of get it, you know, I know they're trying to get everyone excited and everything, but considering that there's like a 2-week gap between the first unit releasing and the second one, I kind of dislike the fact that we could be going to be able to unlock it and basically start the new season with the unit already unlocked and that's sort of half the content gone from the beginning. But anyway, it is what it is, I won't get bogged down into it too much. And finally, we shall of course be getting back onto the PTR. I think players, so you can, if you read this, watch this video in time, you can register to participate in the playtest, and you'll be able to join me and some of the other content creators on the PTR. We'll then do our kind of usual thing, get into some unit testing, test the new units, see how they compare against current units in the game, make some predictions about what we think is going to be sort of some of the most meta units that are going to come out of the season, and then when they get released in the game, be completely wrong about it. That's normally what happens, but as usual, we will have that video. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed this. Do let me know what you think in the comments down below. Do let me know what you think about the new season. I would be kind of really interested to hear your thoughts on it, and I shall see you guys all on the next one.